Poetry structure. So poetry structure is important. It's just, in my opinion, not as important as it used to be. As more poems have went unstructured in contemporary poetry, and all of the older poems that were really heavily structured have been analyzed to death. It's not really a fertile ground for a lot of analysis as it used to be. But having said that, it's still a very important skill that does help with poetry, because it's not saying that current poetry can't be structured in this way. Um, there's a lot of vocabulary in your textbook that will help you. I was never great at it. It wasn't my strong suit. I know just enough to get by, essentially, through grad school, where they can get pretty heated. But what I like about this textbook is that it actually says that people can read these things differently. They can have a different internal sense. A couple of things that helped me out to really finally get it right was one is clapping along, and just so rhythmically I can start to see where things go, and really paying attention to the most important words first. So every once in a while I really get caught up in the unimportant words, and that would slow me down as well. If you take something like hickory dickory dock, well, that puts you in a really weird place, because hickory is 3 syllables, and so is dickory. And it's not really a word. And so, but if you start to think about it more like a musician, if you're clapping along like a percussion, right? Hickory dickory dock. And that's different, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it's like these triplets. And so it'll start to help you to kind of figure out, right? If you're just clapping along like you're doing like horse like coconuts, like in the old Monty Python stuff, some sort of iambic, right? And if you can just get these really key basic ones down first, then you can probably start to figure out most of rhyme and meter. Don't overthink it, right? It's where sometimes things like an anapest and a dactyl, on which one, like they're both threes, and which one gets that first emphasis, and then the two, unemphasized syllables. It gets a little bit trickier, but like I said, if you pay attention to your most important words and then how they fit into the sentence, you will usually figure out which one the author wanted to be the up and which one they wanted to be the down. And understand that, because they could always make it work every time, that it could get a little bit off. And sometimes that's worth noting in your analysis. What I find more interesting and often a lot more helpful are rhyme patterns. I'm a big rhyme guy. Not that I like to rhyme, but I could identify the patterns. I could recognize the enjambments, the internal rhymes, the sight rhymes. Like I could focus in on rhymes. That was something that I felt very confident in. And so that is something I feel that most, beginner poetry students, will share that. They can see the intentional use of rhyme, even if it's unconventional rhyme with those types of rhymes, right? And then the amount of stanzas, like that's just easy counting, right? The trickiest one was always the meter for me. Given that, right, there's some older genres of poems, so some ballads, elegies, odes, that sort of a thing. Like they're an older style that help to give it historical meaning and placement in other types of ballads and odes and what have you, to be able to compare it against. So being able to identify those is only kind of a little bit helpful in the beginning, unless you're really looking at your analysis for other types in a compare contrast mode, and where it fits into the norm and breaks out of the norm. Those are all good for analysis as well. And then that's pretty much it for the structure. Again, not a huge focus on structure for this class, just because it can be one of the toughest things to do, and it does take a while to figure that out. So in the meantime, maybe start your focus on its overall structure and its rhyme pattern, right? That sort of a thing, and then work back into your actual feet and meters, etc. So hope that helps, and enjoy the reading this week.